a passage out of the end of Luke that I want to read to you. And if you care to look and follow along, then you can turn over to Luke chapter 24. This is a passage that struck me as being deeply descriptive of precisely what we do and significant for describing what we find when we do it, what it is that we're trying to do here. It has kind of a long setup, and the punchline is in the very last line. So this is after Jesus has resurrected, right? But they haven't all seen him yet. And so some of them are still pretty despondent about the idea that Jesus is dead, and they don't know what to do. Two of them, I guess, have to take a day trip anyway, and they're on their way to this kind of nearby village from Jerusalem. And I want to read you, starting in verse 13. Now, on that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and talking with each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And he said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while walking along?" And they stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place in these days?" Right? So he's saying, "Have you been living under a rock? Do you not know what's going on?" He asked them, "What things?" And they said, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and leaders handed him over to be condemned to death and crucified him. We had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it's now the third day since these things took place, and moreover, some of the women of our group astounded us. They were at the tomb early this morning, and when they did not find his body there, they came back and told us that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. And some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they didn't see him." And then he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" And then beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them the things about himself in all the scriptures. As they came near the village to which they were going, he walked ahead as if he were going on, but they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it's almost evening and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them, and when he was at table with them, he took bread, blessed, and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?" In that same hour, they got up, returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions gathered together, and they were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed. He has appeared to Simon." And then they told what happened on the road. And then here's the verse I want to highlight, all leading up to this. "And how he had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread." Something mysterious happened in the breaking of the bread. In the breaking of the bread, they recognized Jesus. And I find that to be a particularly meaningful verse for our group and for what our ministry is about, because part of what we try to do when times are normal, right, is to gather routinely and physically break bread together. When you share a meal with someone, you recognize your common humanity. But then it's more than that. This verse also suggests to us that when we break bread together, we recognize Jesus among us. And we see something that we didn't see before. One question is, what does that mean? How does that work exactly, right? Why is it that they couldn't see him until they broke bread? How do we accomplish what it is that we're trying to do? How do we simulate the breaking of the bread and recognize the Lord among us when we can't physically be together? So those are my two questions. What does it mean that they recognize the Lord in the breaking of the bread? And then how do we proceed from here as a group that longs to break bread together and recognize the Lord among each other but can't?